June, I'll start with you first of all because you've described yourself as the Real Housewife of Drag, and you're giving like confessional, the backdrop, everything. And since you do describe yourself as such, should we expect fiery confessionals from you that are like in the style of Housewives?
Okay. In the beginning, I was really chill with it, but as it, like the show progresses, you'll start to see, oh, I get to know these girls and I get to poke a little fun shade. I'm not a mean girl, but it's a little fun shade. It's just, yeah, it's fun shade.
And how would you describe this kind of the housewife aesthetic, and as well as other influences on your drag itself?
So I really took this housewife aesthetic because I worked as a personal shopper. And so like I have styled some housewives and I was always very inspired by, the modern woman and how well, the need to always want to be the prettiest and the most put together and the newest dress. I was like, these women really, put the work in to be that girl. And in drag queens, we do the same thing. We put the work in to be that girl in our lane. So it just kind of seemed like something that no one was really doing. And I kind of, had a lane to be a housewife of drag.
Yes, yes, I love it. I love it. And Bosco, for you, you describe your drag as, evil and naked. And the evil aspect is not really something that we've really seen on Drag Race. I mean, we kind of got that on the UK series recently with Charity Case. But other than that, we haven't really seen this sort of like, demon inspired, just like darker drag in general. So what do you think about you being able to bring this sort of different style of drag and aesthetic to the show?
I'm really excited. Like, I'm definitely not the first person to do demonic or like kind of darker themed drag, but I feel like I have a very specific lane that I do my drag in. I'm inspired by like very glamorous villains. I always thought like the villain in like every movie growing up was the coolest character and had the best lines and the best costumes and the best theme songs. So I just kind of wanted to take that and apply that to my drag.
And Daya, for you, you are one of the recent Missouri Queens to be on Drag Race along with Crystal Method. How do you think the Missouri drag scene has kind of influenced your own drag aesthetic and what you're kind of bringing to the show as well?
Totally. So when I first started drag, there was a lot of pageantry drag. And so I saw a lot of pageantry, how refined, how poised it was. And then Crystal in Springfield kind of really started like the underground, crazy, almost similar to like Club Kid aesthetic. And I don't want to owe all the credit to her, especially because there's tons of drag queens that have done the same thing. But in Springfield specifically, she was really kind of the catalyst to bring that kind of drag and focus more on like the artistic side, maybe rather than trying to present purely as female. So that's where a lot of my drag comes from, is like art, a lot of just like the nitty gritty kind of punk. Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't work, and that's what makes it fun,
Yeah, yeah. And I would love to go around the Zoom and each of you could, talk about something that you think surprised you about being on Drag Race, like the whole process, everything about like walking into the workroom and a notion that you may have had completely dismantled by actually, going through the experience and being on the show. So we could go June, Bosco, then
Daya. Something I did not know, it's really cold. Like which was great for my pores and makeup, but no, like and like some of my like looks were, a little revealing. It's really cold. Like
I think so. I want to say it was maybe it was Bob the Drag. Someone spoke about how cold it is in the workroom. And
not just the work, every set, it's really cold.
Bosco, for you?
I get like a lot of joy out of like how awkward it is without like all the cuts. Because like when you see the final episode, everyone's looking fierce and everyone's like, "Mah." But like when you're doing it in real life, you like say your catchphrase, then you look at the cameras, and then they're there for a minute posing while other people are watching you from the side, and it's hysterically weird.
Daya, for you?
I don't know why. I thought the workroom was going to be small, and then when I entered, I was like, "This feels like I'm like on a basketball court." Like it felt ginormous. So I was really shocked. I was waiting to see, the thing come down from the ceiling with the scoreboard, but it never happened. So
Also, in the past almost 2 years, we've been in this pandemic, and I think it's changed a lot as far as Drag Race filming in a bubble, but also kind of the way that drag artists kind of approach drag now. It's a lot more political because of everything that's been going on. And I want to know from each of you kind of how the events of the past year, kind of between the pandemic and between social uprising, has kind of made you perhaps think differently about your contribution to the drag scene. From anybody.
Okay.
Where do we go?
So we're still going to say order. I think for me, I learned about digital drag and what my impact could do with that. During the whole BLM movement, you went to the desert with my friends, and yes, I march, yes, I protest, but I used my art to remind people that look like me that we were important, that we mattered, and I got to use my drag to do that, which I never thought I could have that moment.
Yeah, Bosco.
That's a really tricky question, to be honest. That's like, I feel like a lot of us come from places where like doing drag, let alone being queer or being gay, is like not super acceptable or not like really a topic of like polite conversation. So the fact that we like go into our lives doing this is already a very political statement. And then to be like taken out of that for like a year and a half and to really sit with like what drag means to you and how much it affects other people really just kind of like expanded for me. Like I didn't get to do very much drag during the pandemic, during the lockdowns. So it kind of like opened up my eyes how much I need drag and how much I need this as gender expression in order for me to feel like a fully realized person.
Yeah, for sure. And lastly, Daya.
Yeah, well, the saying life imitates art, I think that the purpose of art is to make a statement. And before the pandemic, I know a lot of us were like performing in the clubs regularly, and we kind of had our like Thursday through Sunday kind of gigs. And then I know I slept a lot of the other days, but whenever it came to the lockdowns, we had more time to kind of reflect and look at the things happening around us, the different movements, and be able to use our art and our point of view to inspire others, to raise awareness about certain events. And I mean, that's what art is about, right? You're doing it as a reaction to something. And I think using that in a positive way is the only way it should be used.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much. I enjoyed chatting with you, and I can't wait to see you all on this upcoming season. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye.
Jasmine, I'll start with you first. In a wild turn of events, you're the only New York City queen this season. What does it mean to represent New York on Drag Race? Because, I feel like the city, we've been through a lot over the past 2 years with, COVID and everything else. We've proven to be resilient. So what does it mean for you to be a New York City queen on Drag Race?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely a blessing and an honor. Out of all the different types of drag that comes out of New York City, I definitely feel like there's so much that they could have picked, and that they picked me. I feel honored. But yeah, I get my little one season to my own. I'll take it, because usually, there's a lot of like, who's gonna be the best New York City queen? And I don't have to do that this year. I can just come in as myself, be myself. And, I feel like I'm also representing a little bit of Jersey, a little bit of upstate and some Long Island. So if anything, just call me a tri-state queen, New York City's cute, but I think I'm bringing a different side of New York City, I think, than what's usually seen. So I think that's the vibe. I'm super excited.
Did you say tri-tip?
Tri-tip. I love a tri-tip.
Because mama, I'm hungry, bitch.
Me too.
And Kerri, for you, so everyone has been buzzing. Is Kerri Colby the drama of the season? Because that snippet that we got in that teaser is already that should be on Untuck's Emmy reel for the next season because we are already ready for it. But seriously, what does it mean for you to be one of the two trans women to be on a regular season of Drag Race? You know, that's the first it's been on All Stars, but never on a regular US season, and not one, but two queens, and Black queens at that. So what is all this?
This is a fully loaded question.
I'll say it.
I threw a lot at you.
Oh, yes. Well, first of all I gotta say is when somebody's mama needs to come get somebody, I'm gonna let them know that somebody's mama needs to come get them, please. You know, it's not about drama. It's about, I don't know what some people be on, but I don't do that. So I gotta keep it real. I keep it 100 and I keep it ready. And in terms of the representation, it's amazing. I think that we've already seen definitely interest progression, even from like Drag Race Holland, just when in their first few seasons, just bringing it in. I think that we're ready. You know, America has spoken, the world has spoken, World of Wonder has spoken now, and it's time to showcase the community. And I think that we've already trickled in with the drag representation, but now it's time to just open those floodgates. And I've said it a couple times before, but I think that a lot of people have a lot to say about their opinions and what they know and what they feel towards specifically trans women of color. And I think that it is our time. It's been our time to hold the floor and to walk in being ourselves, but saying what we got to say, because sometimes if you don't give somebody their own voice, it can get a little misconstrued. So we're here to construe it.
Construe it.
Yeah, I love it. And Deja, for you, first of all, your Meet the Queens was probably one of my favorite ones. I mean, besides I didn't relate on the anime porn part, but outside of that, I was like, yes. So for you, what's something that you think that you're bringing to the show this season that we really haven't seen before?
I've said this before, but I think that there's multiple things I'll be bringing to the season. I think the one thing that will set me apart is the fact that I am a plus size diva. Yes, ma'am. Me and Kornbread holding it down for the big girls. But I can definitely dance. I can perform. I'm out there. I think that I give, like Kornbread said, authenticity. I have a aesthetic and I stick to it. And that's me through and through. So I definitely wanted to make sure that as I come on the show, when you see Deja, you know it's Deja right off the bat. You don't see another queen. The one way to make me upset is to compare me to another queen. Please don't ever do that in America. Please don't ever do that to me or any of the girls. We are in our own lane. We are our own people. So just make sure that, please stop comparing. We hate them. Did that answer it?
Yes, it does. It does. But it's kind of interesting because every time there's a new season, everyone's like, "Oh, this is the new this queen. This is the new Alyssa. This is the new Oh, here's Alyssa." I'm like, no, like everyone is their own drag queen. Like, you don't need to compare, and everyone can exist too. Everyone can exist collectively.
Literally, and people think I understand that Drag Race is the biggest drag platform at this moment. But we have been doing this for years before Drag Race. Just because you see a white line underneath someone's eye doesn't make it Trixie Mattel. Just because you see a plus size queen that's this, it doesn't make it look like every single person has their own thing. Let them have their thing and move on, people.
Literally.
True.
So I also like to go around the Zoom and just kind of get from everyone something that surprised you about being on Drag Race. Walking into the workroom and having something that was like, wow, I did not see this cover. I did not think this was going to be this way. So Jasmine, we can start with you.
Oh,
no spoilers.
No spoilers. I definitely would think for me, it was the emotions that come out of it. Mm-hmm. I definitely didn't expect my mind to go to so many different places that it did and where I ended up to be at the end. So I think going in, make sure you're like, you can get as prepared as possible, but emotions definitely were probably the biggest thing I wasn't prepared for.
Harry, what about you?
Say that's it.
Me? Oh, sorry. I'm like kind of deaf. Honestly, I would say how real it is. It is, you know, you get that idea. It's TV. It's been around for 14 seasons. You know, people complain it's not original. The thing is it is actually very real. And there were so many moments where I was like in the middle of things, and I'm a very objective person. So I typically like live outside of my head while also in it. And there were times I'm like, this shit is real right now. Like, oh my God. And like, just the emotions are real. The reactions are real. The judges are real. You know, everything is just so real, and it starts to kind of overwhelm you, but it also is so invigorating, honestly.
Yeah. I will say one thing for me that surprised me, seeing Drag Race for so many seasons. We are season 14, and hopefully there's 14 more. Seeing the fact that Michelle Visage is very nurturing. Oh, she's very nurturing. She gets a bad rap. People will say that she's, you know, she's mean or she's this. She is so nurturing. And the way that she speaks to you with critiques or even in a challenge, it's so motherly. It's never talking down to you. It's never anything that you may think she is. She's just such a mother, and she makes you feel so comfortable. So that to me was definitely a good surprise.
All your answers. Thank you so much. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you, and I cannot wait until everyone sees season 14 of this show. We all are so excited, and congratulations, and can't wait to see it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Have a good one.
Bye.
Have a good one, love.
Angeria, I will start with you first, because first of all, your name, Angeria ParisVanMicheals, is the most draggiest, pageantiest name. It has to be like top 5, you know, Drag Race names. But how do you hope to subvert the norm when it comes to the way that pageant queens are typically received on Drag Race?
Ooh, I am so glad you asked that, because that was in my mind the whole time getting ready to come on Drag Race. I was like, I got one goal, and it's to make sure that I let the world know that pageant queens can have personalities. Like, baby, I can be pageant and polished, and I can look like this, but bitch, yeah, when I talk, when I open my mouth, girl, it's something entirely different. Like, I wanted to make sure that my personality was in the forefront, and then my look was second. Like, I wanted them to make sure that they knew, like, the world's gonna know, baby, pageant girls. Yeah, they make those too. They make pageant girls with personalities.
I love it. And Alyssa, for you, it has been a while since we've had a Puerto Rican queen on Drag Race, but let alone a Puerto Rican-based queen, you know, directly living and working in Puerto Rico. So how does it feel to represent Puerto Rico on Drag Race, as well as the influence of Puerto Rican culture on your drag?
It feels amazing. It feels so powerful. I literally, I feel like a superhero right now. I gave my island hope. I gave all my sisters that hope to keep auditioning, because if I do it, they can do it. Since season 7 with Candy Hope, season 8, no, season 7, sorry. There are no Puerto Ricans over there in the show. So when I got the call, I was, no way. Like, I broke up the Puerto Rican curse, and I am the show. So no matter what happened, I feel so proud to be on the show and put Puerto Rico people, put the Puerto Rican flag in the map of Drag Race.
Yes, I love it. And Maddy, for you, of course, there has been a lot of discourse about you being on the show. But what's the one thing that you think that you have learned about yourself and your drag while appearing on the show? And what's something that you hope that people learn from what they're about to see in you being on the show?
I think honestly, like, the biggest thing I've learned doing this is that I can do it, just like in general. You know, me even auditioning for the show, I felt confident in my drag, but I didn't know if I could even get to like the point that I'm at. And just like going on the show, just reaffirming that I'm here for a reason. Like, I was chosen. I don't know, it gave me like more confidence in myself, and just knowing that, like, you know, it doesn't matter where you come from, like you can do it. And I hope that like my being on the show just like mostly just like shows a lot of people at home watching that like, you know, gender is just a construct. It's okay to like explore yourself, explore your femininity, especially like all the straight guys watching that are just like too scared to just like be themselves, and just like they're just like a lot of guys are just like putting on like a character for show almost, and just realizing they don't have to do that. The rules are made up, the guidelines are arbitrary. Just like be your true authentic self no matter what.
Yeah. And Lady Camden, first of all, I love the regalness that you have going on. It's giving very Bridgerton or something like that. I love it.
All the illusion, you know, all the illusion.
So what's interesting that you would say about, you know, being a British queen and being on the US show and like having exploring these differences between drag across the pond and drag here?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's like honestly like a really big honor to be on the American season as a UK original. But I would say that I learned the ropes of drag in the States. So my journey has been like very American in a way, but I guess where the British comes in is kind of just like who I am as a person. Like I'm like ballet, theatrical based, you know, I have a British kind of sense of humor sometimes. And so I think the Britishness comes out in just like me, but I have taken so much inspiration from queens on the show and not on the show who are American queens.
Yeah. And I would love to just go around the Zoom and kind of get from everyone something that you think surprised you about being on Drag Race, like, you know, walking through the workroom and one thing that, you know, was completely different, completely like out of nowhere that you did not expect coming in. So we can start with you first, Alyssa.
Wow, that's a great question. I think to see the girls. I think you never know like who is over there, like which girls their shoes for competing with you. So to see the other girls, it was like shock, like to see the versatility and the diversity that they have, and to know them is great. Yeah, it was amazing, and to me that was the most powerful thing in the whole competition. Definitely.
Angeria, what about you?
For me, walking into the workroom, honestly, it was all the cameras. Like I was like, okay. Like I was expecting maybe like one or two. It was like 50 cameras and people. And I was like, hey. Like I think that's the thing that like made it real. Like, bitch, you on a TV show. Oh, okay.
Maddy, what about you?
Honestly, like walking in, I thought it's probably just like some weird camera tricks. It's actually like a smaller room that only has 2 walls and like a big sound stage. And no, you walk in, it's a huge giant workroom. Like it's just a giant room. And I was just like, whoa.
And it's huge.
And cold.
Everybody's been saying it's cold. And I was like,
So
wow,
cold.
like I would not be able to deal.
Super cold. It is.
And Lady Camden, what about you?
I would agree with the camera thing. It's very like you honestly don't know what it's going to look like when you're there. Everything doesn't feel like it does when you're watching it. It feels different. And I think I don't know. I think that I know what it is. I was thinking about this earlier today because you can be as prepared as possible for something like Drag Race and you can watch every season and think, okay, I'm ready for literally anything, but they're always gonna catch you off guard with something. And that's really like the true test. And I think that was what surprised me is that, you know, there are genuine like things that will trip you up or where you'll have to kind of jump across and like real challenges that you don't expect.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for chatting with me today, and I can't wait to see your amazing work on this upcoming season.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, ladies. How are y'all doing today?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to chat with you all about season 14. Even though we get Drag Race every year, I still feel like I've been in a need for Drag Race, especially during this time we're in. So it's super exciting to chat with you all about this new season. Kornbread, I'm going to start with you. So many people know you already from your online work in acting and in comedy. So by being on Drag Race, how do you think the differences and similarities are between your experience already in the industry and what you've learned about yourself on Drag Race?
Drag Race is nothing like what you expect it to be or what you learn in the industry. The thing is, like, obviously everyone goes in with strong suits. But when you go into Drag Race, you learn a lot about self-discovery. Say, for instance, there's someone who isn't a trained actor or who hasn't acted any time in their life. When you get on that Drag Race platform, your adrenaline and your peak of things change. And I think you discover that there are a lot of like hidden talents that other people have as well, and a lot of hidden talents that you have as well. Do I think my acting background kind of gives me an advantage in particular things? Yes, but I'm also a person who never underestimates the people that are around you, because I know I'm a raw talent and there's a lot of raw talent there as well. So I definitely learned to not underestimate anybody. At the same time, always stay on your toes and not get comfortable with anything.
Yeah. And Orion, for you, you are, of course, the first Michigan queen to be on Drag Race. How would you describe the drag scene in Michigan? Yes. And how do you think that kind of influences your own drag?
I think, the scene around here it's still pretty pageanty. I think a lot of it's still really cookie cutter. A lot of the queens kind of always look the same. And I think a lot of people around here don't really know who they are. And I think that was the difference, is I didn't want to, be like everyone else. I wanted to, be my own person. And I have always had this like vision of, what my drag was and what it represents. And I think, I'm going on representing Michigan, but I'm more so representing myself, above everything.
Yeah. And Jorgeous, for you, you are in Nashville, but Texas, born and bred. So how do you think the Texas drag scene has inspired you, and also Mexican culture as well?
Oh my God. Well, I will say I love Selena and I love J-Lo, and like they inspired all this, but definitely the drag scene definitely taught me how to be, and the drag scene in Texas definitely taught me how to be like, I guess like one of the pretty girls, but they do such an old school style of like being pretty. And when I was coming up and being like the new new school pretty, I guess it wasn't enough. Like you're not wearing boobs, you're not doing this, you're not doing it right. But I definitely think that maybe like seeing my drag, maybe it will help like inspire, like I guess to like maybe like have, how do I say it? Like have like a more newer take to drag.
Yeah. And Willow, for you, first of all, I just love this, spooky aesthetic you have going on today. I love it. I love it. I feel like your look so far are some of the most interesting that we've seen as far in the previews already. And I want to kind of get the understanding of the kind of influences on your drag and kind of the mixture of both, like, like the pretty, but like also the darker elements as well.
Well, I'm definitely the most interesting person on the cast.
Factual.
No, but I've got a lot of inspiration of like dark and light. I love anything that's very kitschy, butterflies, Bratz doll, but then I also love anything that's like blood and bone and nasty. But so yeah, it's just a mixture of all the emotions that one human goes through. What a amazing answer that was.
just simple emotions that we go through on a daily basis.
Yeah, my drag, it's very high.
It's not a phase, Mom.
And I would love to just go around the Zoom and kind of get just from everyone, just one thing that you think surprised you about being on Drag Race, like, walking into the workroom and kind of having a preconceived notion, but having that notion kind of like completely demolished. And Jorgeous, we can start with you and then just go around.
Oh my God, the thing that I did not know that I could do is actually kind of like be like funny and like, you know what I mean? Because like I am like a goofy person, but I didn't know I could like be kind of funny like on the spot, kind of, I guess. So that kind of like taught me like how to like be more comfortable with myself, and like it's okay to like make a joke and people don't laugh, I guess.
Orion, what about you?
I think, going back to what Kornbread said, you really like, you get on the show and you really learn a lot about yourself. Like, I think you come in and you think like, oh, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm gonna kill, and you go on and you're like, oh, like you find out, oh, I'm better at this than I thought I was, you know, like something that you might not have known you wouldn't have been able to do, you know.
Kornbread.
For me, as quick as I can, I think a lot of people don't know that I'm introverted. I'm extremely introverted, and I prefer most of the time being by myself, chilling and relaxing in the room alone. But on this show, I think I put myself aside a lot, and I put myself, I put others before myself in the sense of making sure everyone else was okay. Than like my own kind of needs. Although I took care of myself, I'm not worried about that part. But it's definitely like my care for other people to make sure everyone else is all right around me. I don't think I would have been able to compete as well if everyone around me wasn't at a good spot, if that makes any sense. So definitely putting others before me, which I enjoy doing, and I still enjoy doing now. Didn't know that.
And lastly, Willow.
What was the question? I got lost in translation.
Something that you think surprised you about Drag Race after walking in and like having a notion, deconstructed.
Yeah, I was surprised how quickly you adapt to the show. I mean, right when you walk in, you are shocked and you shit yourself. But quickly, you just adapt to what's going on. And when you watch the show, it's like, you're like, oh my God, this all looks so terrifying. But when you're there, you kind of go into survival mode and you're like, there's no time for nerves. You just have to do it. And you do, somehow.
Somehow. I'm so excited to see all of this play out throughout the season, and congrats on season 14. I can't wait to see you all's amazing work this season.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye, Lau.
Bye.